Hi Scrum Masters, welcome to the sprint called Scrumify Your Resume. So we're going to look at some really practical ways to update your resume, even if you have no Scrum Master experience, to help you get that interview, because that's one of the purposes of the resume. So the first resource that you can use in this section is the Transferable Skills Matrix. And this is an actual Excel sheet that you can download. And basically you can see that on the left-hand side, you list your current strength, like problem solver or whatever. And then in the right-hand column, you just translate that strength that you already have into Scrum Master language. So for example, the problem solver strength translates into impediment remover, because that's one of the key responsibilities for the Scrum Master. Or another example is if you create charts in your job today or graphs, that translates into transparency or a big visible information radiator. Those are magic words in Scrum and Agile. If you like to learn, that translates into continuous learning. So you can see that on this sheet, I've given you some translations for some common skills that you probably already have and you're already doing today. All you have to do is just translate those into Scrum Master-ish kind of language. So step one is list your current strengths. I'm sure you have many, and your skills. In the left side column, step two, translate them into the Scrum Master language on the right. And some you may not even need to translate. Leadership might just be leadership. And step three, the most important, of course, is add it to your resume. So this is downloadable. You can download this directly from the program by clicking on the Materials tab. And I'll show you a picture of that in a minute. So the next resource that you can use is the sample Scrum Master resume, which I've created for you and has typical Scrum Master skills on there and typical Scrum Master language, and you can also download that. And that resume is in a skills-based format, not a chronological format. And the reason that we use skills-based for new Scrum Masters is that you already have skills that you use in life. And they just may not be, you maybe didn't gain them in relation to doing a paying Scrum Master job. So all you have to do is list the skills at the top of your resume and then do the chronological job history at the bottom. So the skills are the first thing that people see. So what are the difference? So on the left, where my mouse is moving, the skills-based resume or a functional resume, it just highlights your specific skills at the top, and it focuses on skills of the job you're seeking, like a Scrum Master skills, like removing impediments. The chronological resume, on the other hand, right over here, that highlights your sequential work history. So if your last 5 jobs were working as Scrum Master, the chronological resume format might be right for you. But if you haven't had any or many paying Scrum Master jobs, I would strongly recommend doing the functional format. So how do you know when to use which? So I just talked that through. So you would use functional resume when you have less experience in the field. You would use chronological when you have more experience. So here's some examples. You took the Scrum Master training, you passed the certification, but you can't get the job because all the job listings say they want, like, say, 5 years of experience. So in those cases, or even 1 year. So in those cases, you would list your skills at the top. In terms of building experience, check out the other module on ways to get experience, like at home, through volunteering, internships, etc. So as an example of when you would use chronological, you've already been working in a paying job, say Scrum Master, $90,000 a year, and you want to earn more and or continue to grow, learn and grow in a more advanced Scrum Master role. So here are some visual examples, and this is from resumegenius.com. It's a great site. So chronological resume you have on the left, and then functional in the middle, or you could do a combination. So these are just visual examples for you to think about in terms of how you want to arrange your own resume. And remember, there's a downloadable template of a resume for a Scrum Master. Functional format has Scrum Master skills in the materials section of this course. For your language on your resume, that's important. You want to grab people's attention and show your accomplishments. So it's things that you accomplished. So that's why I recommend using the past tense of verbs, because it shows your contributions and it shows you as really action-oriented and proactive versus just sort of happening to be there. So here's some examples. So present tense, Scrum Master team. Past tense, Scrum Mastered team. Remove blockers is present tense. Past tense would be removed blockers. That's what recruiters want to see. Things that you did, accomplishments that you contributed. Finally, an example, assist product owner with backlog refinement, assisted product owner with backlog refinement, and then I added quantification twice weekly over 6 months, which is our next slide. Quantify. You want to quantify your resume. All that means, it's really simple, it's just add numbers. Because think about it, perception is reality. And so in a way, if there isn't a number, a metric on your resume, it kind of didn't happen, at least from the perspective of the person who's reading it, because they don't know if you did the thing for 2 weeks or 2 years. They don't know. So quantify, quantify, quantify in every line of your resume except listing your skills. So here's some examples of not quantified versus quantified. So not quantified, Scrum Mastered. You could have done it for 2 minutes, 2 hours, 2 years, we don't know. Quantified is Scrum Mastered one team for 6 months, leading to a 15% increase in team happiness metric and 17% increase in customer satisfaction metric. Boom. Like, you see the difference, Scrum Masters? It's a huge difference. Removed blockers is another non-quantified example. So let's make it better. Removed blockers on cadence at every retrospective and throughout 15 sprints. Boom. You've got a number. So it's really easy to tell if your language is quantified or not. It's if you have a number in there or a percentage. Last example, assisted product owner with backlog refinement. Okay, that's fine as far as it goes, but you could have done it once in 5 years, which doesn't really count. Let's make it better, more quantified. Assisted product owner with backlog refinement twice weekly over 6 months. Huge difference. Now, I used to think, well, they know that. Well, no, they don't. No, they don't. They can't read your mind. Okay. Another thing you want to do with the language on your resume is use the active voice in your verbs, not the passive voice. Passive voice, bad, bad, bad. It's dead. Okay. So active voice is when the subject of the sentence performs the verb's action. So here it makes your language really strong, direct, and clear, and that's what you want in your resume, strong, direct, clear. So examples. Scrum Masters facilitate sprint planning. The Scrum team succeeds or fails together. The Scrum product owner prioritizes the product backlog. Those are all action verbs. Action, action, action. Okay. Versus passive voice, bad, 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 we want to avoid. That's when the subject is acted upon by the verb. It's always a form of the verb to be. Examples. Sprint planning is facilitated by the Scrum Master. Success or failure is done by the Scrum team together, or the product backlog is prioritized by the product owner versus the product owner prioritizes the backlog. Do you see the difference? So the huge difference is that passive voice in your language gives the impression to the person reading your resume that you are passive, but you're not. You're active, you're proactive, you're clear, you're strong, and you're direct. So show that in your language. Okay. So here's the bonus resource. It's a downloadable Scrum Master resume. So why use it? So you don't have to use it, but it kickstarts your resume. And if you're like me, it puts a stop to the endless worry of your resume and gives you a simple functional format, which is really good for new Scrum Masters with minimal or zero experience. So how do you use it? Just download it. And then you just revise the language on there. So whatever language describes you, keep it. And then add language or revise the language that's there. And then also grab your skills from the Transferable Skills Worksheet, which is another downloadable resource in this lesson, and paste those skills into your resume. And then fill in your chronological experience at the bottom. So here's a summary of the resources, and the main thing to know about this slide is the picture on the right. So Scrumify Your Resume picture. So where my mouse is moving right here, in the lesson, you have to click on the Materials tab, and then you'll see those 3 resources: the Transferable Skills Matrix worksheet, the Kickstart template, that's your Scrum Master resume Kickstart template, and then you'll also see this presentation if you want to download that. Okay, so make sure to check out those 3 resources: Transferable Skills Worksheet, Sample Scrum Master Resume, and then there's also a quiz or a game to practice quantifying your language and to practice choosing and creating active voice over passive voice. So this is your chance to build your confidence and build your skills, build your resume, feel good about it, feel confident about it. And, you know, these are the building blocks. So with these in place, you can stop obsessing about your resume and focus on the primary way that people get jobs, which is through networking, Agile networking on LinkedIn and meetup groups and conferences. So more than 90% of jobs get gotten through networks, not the resume. So your resume has to be good. You have to have one. And so hopefully this guide will get you started. Okay, bye Scrum Masters. I'll see you in the next one.